We're talking about something truly historic today, a first of its kind. We're diving into the incredible story of India's blind women's cricket team and their journey at the very first T20 World Cup, a tournament that, as you'll see, is about so much more than just winning a trophy.
And right off the bat, you can just feel the ambition. The stakes are sky high. This quote from the team's captain, Deepika TC, says it all. See, the cited Indian women's team had just won their World Cup, and she's saying, we want to make it a double. They're not just there to play, they are there to win. And they're up against 5 other nations on this groundbreaking world stage: Nepal, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Australia, and the USA. This is the first time anything like this has happened for women's blind cricket, and let me tell you, India has shown up as an absolute powerhouse.
But okay, you might be wondering, how in the world is blind cricket actually played? It's a fascinating version of the sport, and it relies on a completely different set of senses. So let's break down how it all works.
So the first thing you have to understand is you're not watching the ball, you're listening for it. The entire game is played by sound. It takes this incredible level of auditory skill and just laser-sharp concentration. And here are some of the really clever ways the game is adapted. The ball is the star of the show. It's this hard plastic ball, but it's filled with metal bearings, so it jingles and makes noise as it moves. Bowlers have to roll it underarm, right along the ground, which keeps the sound consistent for the batter. And here's a brilliant strategic twist. Any run scored by a fully blind player, that's a B1 batter, counts as 2. That makes them incredibly valuable players on the team.
And that brings up another layer of strategy. See, players are put into 3 different categories based on their level of vision. So a team isn't just about picking the 11 best players. You have to have a specific mix of B1, B2, and B3 players on the field at all times. It turns team building into this fascinating strategic puzzle.
Okay, so now that we get how the game works, let's get to the real heart of the story, the players themselves. Their journeys to get to this world stage, they're just stories of unbelievable resilience and grit. For most of these athletes, the journey started miles away from any big cricket stadium. They come from small villages, farming families, spread out across 9 different states in India. For a lot of them, playing cricket wasn't some lifelong dream. It was a path they only discovered a few years ago. Just take the team's captain, Deepika TC. She lost her sight as a baby because of an accident. Growing up, she never imagined her life would be defined by sports. But then, at specialized schools, she was encouraged to play. And cricket, it gave her a new purpose. And maybe most importantly, a whole new level of confidence. And then you have someone like Pula Saren. She comes from a tribal community, and her challenges were totally different. It wasn't just about learning the sport. She had to fight for the right to even play, convincing her family that this was the right path for her. Her persistence is just, wow.
And her story gives us such a powerful insight. Her biggest win wasn't a particular match or some award. It was that internal click, that moment she realized, hey, I belong here. I can compete with anyone. That self-belief, that was everything.
And it just goes to show there's no single path to making the national team. On one hand, you have someone like Ganga Kadam, who was just playing for fun until a mentor saw her potential and really pushed her to take it seriously. Then on the other hand, there's Sunita Sarafti, who felt like she joined late after going to college. She felt like she was behind, so she just trained like crazy to become one of the best fielders on the team. 2 totally different journeys, one shared goal.
So, a team like this, it doesn't just happen overnight. It's the result of more than a decade of hard, dedicated work behind the scenes to build an entire system for women's blind cricket in India from the ground up.
This timeline really puts it all into perspective. The foundation was laid way back in 2011 when the Cricket Association for the Blind in India, or CAB, was created. But the real, focused push for a women's team, that didn't even start until 2019. Now look at the absolute explosion in 2023, their first international game, a gold medal, and now competing in the World Cup. That is a stunningly fast climb to the top.
So what was the spark? What was the motivation behind all this? Well, according to KBI's chairperson, Mahantesh GK, it came down to a really simple, powerful idea: fairness. They saw an injustice, and they decided they had to fix it. But, it wasn't easy, not by a long shot. The 2 biggest roadblocks were, first, finding the money, and second, the massive challenge of convincing enough other countries to build and send their own women's teams. The fact that they overcame all that makes this first tournament an even bigger deal. All right, finally, let's talk about the impact here. The legacy of this tournament is going to last so much longer than the final match. It's truly changing the game in more ways than one. I mean, the visibility for the sport has been absolutely massive. Having all the games streamed on YouTube and shown on national TV, that's a huge step forward. And when you get mainstream cricket superstars to publicly support them, it sends a clear message to everyone else. Pay attention. This matters. The team's coach, Shikha Shetty, really hits the nail on the head when she talks about the long-term impact. Because people can now see these women competing at the highest level. The path isn't a mystery anymore. Families can look at this and feel confident letting their daughters chase this same dream. And really, that's the ultimate victory, isn't it? This World Cup is smashing stereotypes about what visually impaired women can do. Every single player on this team has become a role model, showing a whole new generation of young girls exactly what's possible. So as these incredible athletes chase history, their whole story kind of leaves us with a bigger question. We've seen how passion and persistence and pure organizational will created this opportunity. And it just makes you wonder, in all sports, and really in all parts of life, what does it truly take to level the playing field for everyone?